Hey everybody, Stephen Garney here, Team Most Awesome, Team Canada. And I'm just going to go over really quickly how to remove your fuel tank from your board. You should always be removing your fuel tank when you're transporting your board or when you're filling your fuel. A lot of people won't want to remove their fuel tank for fueling, but it's really bad for your board to have fuel inside the engine cavity. You can start a fire, you can weaken the hose lines that are underneath, you can weaken a lot of the places that have the little tie downs that are actually 3M adhesive or glued down for those ones that are just glued down with a two-part resin. So you should always take your tank out because it's not safe to have fuel floating around inside the inside of your board. And we'll go over some of your fuel lines a little bit. Obviously, on the back of your carburetor, you have your black pin and your red pin. Your black pin is for the high speed tuning, so your high RPM tuning. Your red pin is for your low RPM tuning. Don't mess with the red one. You don't need to, so don't mess with it. It has the factory default settings right on it. So it says black. You should twist it all the way in as far as you can, and then you back it off an hour and 40 minutes. So for like normal layman's terms, 360 degrees, and then almost another 3/4 of a turnout. And that's where the factory default setting is for that one. And then for your red, it's all the way in, and then back it off 360 degrees, and then just 15 degrees, or sorry, 45 degrees. So just a quarter turn. So 1 1/4 turns out on the red, and then 1 3/4 turn out on the black, and that will give you your factory default settings for your carburetor. Should stay on your carburetor too. So if you're wondering why it says an hour 40 and an hour 15, that's what those are. Those are your presets for your carburetor. So here we have your line into your carburetor. This pump, you're not trying to force the fuel through the carburetor or anything. You're just trying to force the air out of the line. So you just pump it until you can see the fuel get to the carburetor. If you start squeezing on this super hard, you will pop off a line from your carburetor and stuff, and it's really bad for your carburetor as well. So don't just be like pumping the shit out of it, because it's not going to help you in any way. If anything, you'll just flood your board. So there's no need to be over squeezing that thing. And then in here, right after your pump, there's an inline fuel filter, and then these are just quick connects, so you can disconnect it. And it's as simple as that. When you do disconnect it, feel these little rubber O-rings, and you can feel if there's wear and stuff. You want to make sure you're getting a good seal. So without these O-rings, you're not going to get that good seal. So just make sure you have those and they're in good shape. And then this is your air line in back into your fuel tank. So the same thing here, you just disconnect it, and it's spring loaded just like your fuel inline. What I like to do is I like to connect these back together. Maybe I can raise that up a little bit. So hopefully you can still see that. So I like to connect these together, and it's just a little button on the top. You just press it and it just releases. And then you have a circle so that any fuel that's in your line will just go back into your tank. So now to release your tank, you'll probably have a Velcro here. I got a quick release strap. Mine's a little bit different. This is my personal board, so that's why it's been modified a little bit. I actually have a different fuel tank too. I'm just using this one for the demo, but my fuel tank actually has a larger fuel filter. It doesn't have the pump, and then it's got a cutoff line here as well to control the amount of vacuum air pressure in the tank, but doesn't matter. Anyways, so you just disconnect your line here, and then you pull back towards the engine, tilt it up, and then it will slide out. It is a snug fit, but it will just come straight up. And then once you have it there, you lift it, and then you kind of push this end towards the engine a little bit more, and you'll be able to lift this end out first. So you can see how that end comes out first. This notch in here allows you to get around that quick release for your hood, and it just drops back in the same way. Then when you have your fuel tank out for transport, I also like to take my air line and reconnect it back to my fuel inlet line so that it's not rattling around in my board and you don't have a little bit of residual fuel spilling out of your inlet line to your carburetor. And that's how you do it. Go fill up your fuel tank and go enjoy some jet surfing. This is Stephen Gardner, Team Most Awesome, Team Canada, signing out.